Howdy there, guitar player. In today's lesson we are going to be checking out a chord melody arrangement of the tune Right or Wrong. If you've been following our lesson releases here recently, you'll notice that we have a version of this tune that's what I would call a single note melody. This is kind of close to just what, like a trumpet player or a vocalist would kind of sing over top of this tune. But today we're going to unlock the full power of the 6-string electric guitar here and add some sweet jazz chord inversions below some of those melody notes. So if you learned that last version, we're going to be using a lot of the same fingerings and areas of the fingerboard to kind of beef it up and make a chord melody arrangement. So stay tuned, okay? If you haven't had a chance, go ahead and hit that subscribe button below and the bell notification button. That way you'll get notified whenever I upload a new video here to the channel. Also, if you're interested in things like PDFs of the tab and sheet music for today's lesson, as well as things like backing tracks, play-alongs, and access to our monthly Q&A sessions where you can ask me any of your guitar-related questions, go ahead and check out that link below in the description to the Mandolin Secrets Guitar Club. You'll find all the information you need to know there to sign up. Okay, my friend, Right or Wrong. So if this is your first time tuning in with us, Right or Wrong is a jazz standard that was penned back in 1921, but really made famous by Bob Wills and his Texas Playboys with their renditions later in the 40s. So this is a great standard to know if you're looking to jump into either kind of traditional swing music or Western swing music. I'm kind of taking a bit more of a Western swing approach here today, but I think these chord inversions that you're about to learn to phrase this chord melody are going to serve you well in either camp. So let's go ahead and just kind of review some of those chord inversions. But actually, you know what? Let me cue up a version of this tune here at 200 beats per minute just so you can listen to it straight through and see some of the shapes that my hands are grabbing. Some might be familiar to you if you've got a little bit of jazz guitar behind you, but if not, what I would do is just kind of look at some of the shapes and see if you can pick out a few of them before we go to the breakdown here in a sec, okay? Let's cue up a version here at 200 beats per minute. Okay, my friend, there is the Right or Wrong chord melody arrangement that I wrote for you here today. Now let's go ahead and unpack some of those crazy chord inversions. Like I said, if you're having trouble with some of the single notes in this one, I would go back to that single note version of the melody that I released here a bit ago and check that one out first, because that's really going to get your hands floating in the general spots that they need to be for this arrangement as well. So to tackle some of those chord inversions, let me stand up here and we'll start with the very first one that we get in the tune. So that first chord that we actually get after the pickup notes is an augmented shape. And this is going to be an E augmented shape. So we've got an E note, ring finger on 9th fret of G, pinky on 9th fret of B, and then middle finger on 8th fret of E. So that's E, G sharp, C, or B sharp if you want to think about it as an augmented chord that way, right? So that might be a new one for you. The next chord shape that we're going to look at here is what I like to call an A13, an A13 dominant type chord. So there's actually not an A note in this, which is kind of funky, right? But it's built off of this drop 2 voicing, the A7 drop 2 voicing. So it's G, C sharp, we're keeping that. And then middle finger on 7th fret of B, pinky on 7th fret of E. So that's index on 5th of D, and middle on 6th of G. So that's our A13 chord that we're using. Kind of a dreamy quality, right? The next one we're doing is actually a D13 shape, but kind of a different one. So you can keep your pinky on that 7th fret right there, and then index finger on the 4th fret of D, and we're using our middle finger to bar those middle strings in between. So it's index 4 of D, middle 5 of G and B, and then pinky on 7th of E. So there's your D13. The next one is a G6 chord. You may have seen this kind of in this shape before, but we're only just using a partial here. So it's going to be middle on 5th fret of D, index on 4th of G, ring on 5th of B. G, B, E, a G6 chord. The next weird one is kind of what I like to call like a G9 or a G6-9 shape. So it's going to be index on 4th fret of G, our B note there, and then barring across on the 5th fret of the top 2 strings. We've got B, E, A. So once again, a rootless voicing there, right? Moving along, the next shape that we've got is a D7. So it's going to be ring on 7 of D, index on 5 of G, and pinky on 7 of B. That's kind of a 5-7-3 inversion if you're thinking about chord tones. Then the next shape is kind of a modified version of that D13. We're actually just kind of going to do it without the pinky and then replace our ring finger where the middle was on that other shape. So it's 4 of D and then barring across 5 of the top 3 strings. That's a D9 shape, we would call it. So F sharp, C, E, A, 3, flat 7, 9, 5. Then we've got another kind of A13 shape, only this time we're putting the A note on top, so it's going to be 5 of D, 6 of G, 7 of B, and then that index finger is barring across 5 to give us that A on top. Okay, my friend, armed with all of those chord shapes, you should be able to now effectively play this chord melody arrangement. The first thing I'm going to say though is every time you kind of pick up a new chord shape, if you're learning jazz music, I know I felt this way, it almost seems like it's going to take you 2 weeks just to get the chord shapes down before you can even manipulate them in the context of the tune, right? So if you're feeling that way right now, what I would do is just pause this lesson video and kind of work through some of those chord shapes. If some of them are new to you especially, you know, but if you know a couple of these chord shapes, you might be able to keep up with these versions of the arrangement that I'm going to get queued up here for you now. Right now, I'm going to give you a version of this tune at 160 beats per minute, and that might be a little quick for even some of my intermediate advanced folks out there. So what I would suggest is just kick back, watch my hands, and see if you can catch some of those chord inversions floating by that we just reviewed, okay? After that, I'm going to get a slower version of this tune for you so we can kind of break it down and really dive into those kind of intricacies of the left hand. All right, here's that version at 160 beats per minute. Let's go. All right, my friend, there's the version at 160. Let's go ahead and slow it down even more to 100 beats per minute. Now, if that's even too fast for you still, I can understand with some of those crazy chords how it might be. Don't hesitate to hit that gear icon below and adjust the speed of the video down. That's a great way to kind of approach this, just so you can see the kind of transitions that I'm making between these single notes and some of these complex chord shapes, okay? That's a tool you should never be afraid to use. All right, let's check out Right or Wrong chord melody arrangement at 100 beats per minute. All right, my friend, that's it for the chord melody arrangement of Right or Wrong. Like I said, if you had some trouble with this one and the transitions between the single notes and the chords, go back and check out that single note rendition of the melody that we posted here on the channel a while back. Also, if you're interested in the tabs to kind of help you out and get some of those chord inversions and the rhythms down a little better, check out the link below in the description to Mandolin Secrets Guitar Club, okay? One last thing, before we get out of here, drop us a comment below and let us know what you think of this chord melody arrangement. Are chord melodies something you want to dive into more on the guitar? If so, I'd be happy to get you some more arrangements here lined up in the future. All right, guitar player, thank you so much for tuning into this video. We'll catch you in the next one.